Super. So hey, you're very welcome. Welcome to this workshop on mindful living and practicing mindfulness. And my name is Greg Jackson, and I've been a meditation and mindfulness teacher for the past several years. I've been practicing much longer than that, but in the last sort of 2 years, I fully shifted my work into just the mindfulness scene. In particular, I'm teaching a kind of mindful movement practice we call Qigong, which is basically like a kind of Tai Chi, a little bit more focused on mindfulness of the body, or at least that's my approach. And I'm also a sound therapist. So I'm doing sound baths and seeing clients one-on-one using sound to help people help them with health issues. And I'm running this workshop, this free online workshop, because I'm in the midst of a transition in my life, both personally and professionally. So I've been working in this scene for the past few years, and now I'm getting ready to move to Plum Village, a monastery in France, a Buddhist monastery in the south of France. I've been there to practice many times before, but I never had a sort of long, extended stay there. And so for the first 3 months, I'll be going through what they call the Rains Retreat. It's an annual retreat they have. It's 3 months from October to January. And after that time, I'll be moving into the surrounding area and working online, teaching Qigong online, doing meditation classes online, and working in the local area there as well. And so I wanted to do this workshop as a way of inaugurating that process, that move, to sort of document in some way my experience and understanding of mindfulness and mindfulness practices to this point, and as well, because when I come out of the retreat, I'll do another one, a follow-up one, sort of three and a half months or so down the line after the retreat, touching in on the same topics, but having gone through that experience to bring the learning that I've done there to you guys. And that's the model of my work. So the model of my work is to transform my own suffering, using mindfulness practices to engage myself toward a path of well-being, ease, happiness, healing, and to use these practices to help me do that and to share those insights with others, to share those experiences with others so that they might be able to do the same, at least in little pockets of their life. And that means that I need to take it a bit more seriously. I have to undergo more extensive training doing this kind of stuff, like an extensive 3-month retreat, for example. And it's by doing that kind of work that I have the experience, the understanding to help others. So that's the model of my business. So we're going to start with a practice. We're going to do a mindfulness of the body practice. And I'm going to speak a little bit about mindfulness of the body after. This practice will take about 15 minutes. If we have time, we'll do another one at the end, maybe a shorter one. But we'll start off with this one here. And so we just need to find a comfortable place to either sit or lie down. It's up to you. Either one works well. If we are sitting, we just make sure we're sitting in a relatively aligned position, so we don't slump down on a chair. We try and sit forward on the chair and lift up our back, sinking into the sit bones. And if we're lying down, we just make sure we're comfortable. Maybe we don't have too high a pillow at the back of the head because that can strain the neck. And so while you're getting set up there and ready, and hopefully you already are, I will invite some sounds of the bell and we will begin the practice. And if you've no experience here at all, that's completely fine. As I'm going to speak about, mindfulness is a process of doing. It's a practice that we do, and it's through that practice that we can learn about it. So I will share some ideas about mindfulness afterwards, but it's through the practice that we really begin to see and experience what it's all about. So to begin with, I'm just going to invite you to become aware of the feeling of contact between the ground and your body. So just noticing all the places where your body is touching the ground, your feet and legs. Maybe you feel your butt against a chair or the ground. And if you're lying down, your back to back of your head. So just noticing that point of contact now, and noticing that the ground is stable enough to hold up your whole weight. So there's all sorts of ways that our muscles remain engaged. Even when they don't need to, they can relax. And so just noticing that the ground can hold us up, and we can just let go of the weight that we're holding on to. We can just let it sink into the ground. And so noticing your in-breath as it comes in the nose, down the throat, into the chest and belly. And noticing how the rest of your body expands to accommodate your in-breath. So you might even feel that contact against the ground changing as you breathe in. Likewise, the body contracts as you breathe out. So just noticing, observing these subtle changes inside the body as you draw in air, oxygen, energy and life from the outside, nourishing your body with the breath. And as you breathe out, just relaxing the body a little bit more. Just small, subtle changes as you slowly relax. And bringing your attention to your head, feeling the head. feeling around the forehead to begin with. We often scrunch the forehead, we furrow our brow when we're frustrated, when we're annoyed. So let's bring a little bit of softness to our forehead now and just let it relax and soften. Relaxing the eyes and the jaw, the mouth. We just bring our awareness to that part of the body. And we just soften and relax it as we breathe out. And we can bring our attention to our neck and our shoulders. So just noticing the neck and the shoulders now. Are they tense and tired? We often talk about carrying the weight of the world on our shoulders. And so we just need to give them a little rest now. Give them a little bit of care. A little bit of love. Remembering perhaps a time when somebody rubbed your shoulders and just getting a bit of that feeling now as you notice the shoulders. And bringing the attention to the arms, feeling the arms, maybe they're resting on your lap or on your belly. Just noticing how the arms feel. And as you breathe out, just inviting them to relax a little bit more. You know, we've got so much tension in our body that it can often take a long time for a part of the body to fully relax. And we can't force it to relax. But we can just allow it. We can invite it. And we can just take care, bringing our attention into our hands, into our arms, and just letting them soften just a little bit. And we can bring our attention into our belly, our stomach. Our intestines. And we often just don't pay much attention to our stomach, for example. But every day our stomach is working away for us, digesting our food, separating nutrients from waste. And it's good to take care of the belly, of bringing our attention into our stomach, in and around the belly, and just saying thanks for all that you do for me. And I'm here to look after you in this moment. Even when our bellies are acting up, whatever degree of health that we have in the belly is a blessing. So we need to take care of the belly. And we can bring our attention into our waist and our hips, our buttocks, and the groin. And we can just invite it to soften and relax as well. And into the legs. Maybe the thighs, starting off with the right thigh and just letting that relax and soften. And the left thigh. And the knees. Our knees can often give us trouble, can be a source of frustration. Let's take care of our knees now. Let's send them some love and gratitude. Let's look after them and just let them relax. And we can bring our attention to our calves then. And finally our feet. As we breathe in, we can feel the breath coming in the nose, down the throat, and we can imagine it going all the way down into our feet. As we breathe in, we feel the breath like it's traveling through the whole body and then into the feet. And as we breathe out, we just invite the feet to relax a little bit more, bringing to mind like a foot rub for our feet. We can give ourselves the pleasure of a foot rub just by bringing our mind to our feet, smiling at them, enjoying having feet. What a wonderful privilege these feet are. What a wonderful luxury to walk around on these legs. So we've brought mindfulness throughout the body. And there may have been one or two areas that you noticed a little bit of discomfort or pain. Maybe you can bring your attention there now. And instead of resisting the discomfort, we can just try and soften and relax that area of the body and smiling at it and saying, hey, I see you, my discomfort. I'm here for you. I'm here to look after you. And you might use the breath, imagining the breath coming down and soothing that area. And as you breathe out, just letting go, releasing that discomfort. Sometimes it can be helpful to even visualize the discomfort as the tension as a red color. And breathing in, you feel that color in that part of the body. And breathing out, you just breathe out a red smoke or a red, color, a red light. Just letting go of that discomfort. Or maybe you've noticed a really nice area of the body, somewhere that feels really good for you. And you can bring your attention to that and just enjoy that feeling and let it nourish you. And now just to finish off, as we breathe in, just feeling the body as a whole, feeling that way the whole body opens up and expands to accommodate the in-breath. And as you breathe out, just relaxing a little bit more, releasing or softening just a tiny bit. So just gently coming back to yourself now, not rushing, just taking your time to bring a little bit of movement back into your feet or your hands, giving yourself a little stretch if you need to, a little hug. You can embrace yourself. And when you feel ready, opening your eyes or just coming back into the space. So we'll just give it a few minutes now before we get going with the rest of the workshop, just to give everyone time to arrive. Might take a little bit of water if you need to. So I'm going to talk a little bit for now, and we can just listen. You can just absorb in whatever way you feel fit. If there's something that you find interesting that you want to follow up on, you can maybe write a little note about it if you want to. But you can also just let land whatever lands and let go of whatever doesn't. There's so many ways of talking about mindfulness. Certainly, I will have my own approach. My background is in philosophy. I did a PhD in philosophy many lifetimes ago, it feels like at this stage. But for me, then, what's very important is going back to texts. In philosophy, that's what we do. You think that we're talking about ideas, and we are talking about ideas, but it's ideas that we find in texts. And we like to stick to the text so that we don't engage in too much gratuitous speculation on our own behalf. For something like mindfulness, of course, the science is really important too, and many people will talk about the science. I find myself very interested in the science, and I read a lot about it, but I won't be talking about that in this workshop. I talked about it in others beforehand, but in this one, I want to stick to just reading a little bit from a Buddhist text so that we can understand something about the context, the history of mindfulness and where it comes from. And then we'll do one more meditation if we have the time, which we should do. But I think it's important, really important to say, and I said this at the start, that mindfulness is a practice. It's something that we do. It's a path that we walk. And really it's a long-lasting dialogue that we form within ourselves. It's a dialogue from ourselves to ourselves or with ourselves. But it happens in practice. It doesn't happen here, me talking. It happens in practice. And that practice is formal sitting meditation. But as we're going to learn about today, it's also throughout our lives. It's when we're walking, when we're eating, when we're drinking. So we learn by doing, which is why we began with meditation. But I am going to talk a little bit as a way of orientating ourselves. I'm going to talk a little bit about one of these early Buddhist texts. Now, one really helpful thing to keep in mind when we're talking about mindfulness, because I find that it's a word that's thrown around a lot now. A lot of people are talking about mindfulness. There's a lot of buzz about it. But I'm not always sure what it means when it's used. We talk about having mindfulness, being more mindful, doing mindfulness. But what does it really mean? And the word that mindfulness comes from, the word that we're kind of translating with the word mindfulness is a Pali word. It's an ancient language that a lot of Buddhist texts were written in. And the Pali word is smrti, which actually just means memory or remembering, which is kind of a strange thing because mindfulness is supposed to be about the present moment. And yet the word actually has its roots in the word memory or remembering. And isn't that about the past? But of course, what we're remembering is to observe the present moment. The reality is our minds are usually lost in the past, in worrying about things, being bothered by things that have happened to us in the past, brooding over our past. Or it gets caught up in the future, in worrying about things that will happen there, stories that we create about our lives and about ourselves. And it creates a tremendous amount of suffering for us, at least in my experience. And so mindfulness is to remember, to really observe what's happening right now, to pull myself away from the story of all these people are going to hate me, or all these people do hate me, for example, or I'm going to do terrible at this thing, or I shouldn't have said this or that, or I have to do all this stuff. I need to get it done. Once this happens, then I'll be okay. All this kind of stuff that we engage in. Mindfulness is about saying, hang on now, come back. What's happening right now? Where's your body? Where's your breath? How does it feel to be in your body right now? Can I relax myself with my breath? Am I actually in catastrophic danger? The answer is usually no, but it can feel very much like we are. It's the mind, it kicks in and it says, you're in danger. So things feel life or death when they really aren't. But mindfulness isn't just meditation. It's not something that we just do for 20 minutes and then we're done with it. Sitting meditation is like training, right? It's a way of training our mind to engage with the world in a different way. But mindfulness is an art of living. It's a way of living that supports us to feel, to learn from, and ultimately to let go of our experiences, so we can live more fully in the present with gratitude and with ease. So I want to read a little bit from this text here, and use it to give us a sense about what mindfulness is all about. So this comes from the Satipathani Sutta, translated as the Sutra on the establishment of mindfulness. So in this text, essentially, someone says, I heard the Buddha one time when he was living around here for a bit, and this is what he said. Right? That's how the text kind of opens. And what they're talking about is alleviating suffering. So the idea in this text is that there's a bunch of people and they're listening to the Buddha and they're saying, how do I be happy? Because life is full of suffering for me anyway, And he talks about the establishing mindfulness. And he actually has 4 different approaches to this, 4 foundations of mindfulness, I guess you could call them. And we're really just going to talk about one little part of one of them today, because we're not here all week. We're only here for an hour. And so what the Buddha says is, the best way of alleviating suffering is establishing mindfulness. And the first foundation is mindfulness of the body. And so the text goes, well, how does a practitioner remain established with mindfulness of the body? And the Buddha says this, and I'm going to read this a little bit out, and then I'll talk about what it might mean. So he goes to the forest, to the foot of a tree, or to an empty room. This is what the practitioner does. So he goes to a forest, a tree, or an empty room, and he sits down cross-legged in the lotus position. He holds his body straight and establishes mindfulness in front of him. He breathes in, aware that he is breathing in. He breathes out, aware that he is breathing out. When he breathes in a long breath, he knows, I am breathing in a long breath. When she breathes out a long breath, she knows, I am breathing out a long breath. When she breathes out a short breath, she knows, I am breathing in a short breath or an out breath, etc., etc. He uses the following practice. Breathing in, I am aware of my whole body. Breathing out, I am aware of my whole body. And then breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I calm my body. So the Buddha here is describing, the practice of meditation, of establishing mindfulness here. And the first step is just to remember that you're breathing. That's it. So we sit down and we go, oh, there's my breath. I've been doing it all this time. I didn't even notice. So feeling the breath coming into the body and leaving the body. And of course, what that immediately does is it brings our attention to how our body's feeling. And we notice maybe some of the sensations in the body. And we might notice some nice sensations and some less nice ones, some uncomfortable ones. And so breathing in, we feel our body. Breathing out, we calm and we relax our body. So here already, this is how we begin to establish mindfulness of our body. And it's deceptively simple. We're noticing what's happening. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But what's interesting here is when he starts talking about calming the body. And so this is a dialogue that begins to happen between me and my body. Breathing in, I feel my body. Breathing out, I calm and I relax my body. Now, as I said in that meditation, we can't instruct our body to do things. So we're using the breath and the relaxing feeling of the breath to invite the body to begin to relax and let go. Now this goes on for a little bit and it gets very, very specific. So I'm going to skip through. But one thing that I really want to bring out here is when he says, Moreover, when a practitioner walks, he is aware, I am walking. When she is standing, she is aware, I am standing. When she's sitting, she's aware, I am sitting. And when he's lying down, he's aware, I am lying down. In whatever position his body happens to be, he is aware of the position of his body. Now, I love that image. It kind of makes me laugh because it makes me think that all these monks are going around like little computers going, oh, my body's like this, my body's like that. Oh, now I'm walking, now I'm standing. And of course, that's not quite what's meant here. That's a sort of surface reading of what's going on. This is an old text. It's one of the oldest Buddhist texts we have. It was probably written a couple of hundred years after the time that he was alive. So you're talking 300 BC, early versions of this text are appearing. Versions of it that go back even earlier, people recording what was being said. So it's written very simply. But what it's inviting us to do is engage in a practice, a formal practice to begin with when we're sitting, learning how to sustain concentration on different parts of the body, engaging in a dialogue with our body where we're inviting it to relax, to soften, to let go. And that practice, that training, empowers us to, in the rest of our lives, to bring a greater degree of mindfulness of what's happening in this moment. When we go out for a walk, instead of distracting ourselves with a million things on our phones, texting, listening to music. It's a lovely thing to do, don't get me wrong. But instead we can just really walk fully, feeling the weight of the body against the ground. Breathing in, enjoying the feeling of the body. Breathing out, releasing what no longer serves us. When we're eating, how often do we sit and eat in front of the television? Can we eat and fully enjoy the food that's in front of us? Feeling the food in the mouth as we chew it up and allow it to nourish our bodies, swallowing and just enjoying the nourishment. Or when we drink our tea or our coffee, instead of rushing it down and whatever else we might do, we can just sit and really smell the coffee. Think for a moment about the long line of human connections and technologies that were needed to serve us this coffee. It's a kind of miracle that we have coffee here in Ireland, for example, if you're tuning in Ireland. It's a miracle. And how often do we really take a moment to stop and touch that magic, touch that beauty of everything around us? Now, the sitting meditation or lying meditation or whatever it is, lying down, you can do it that way. That is a kind of training. It's a kind of practice. And there is a certain amount of that we need to do each day to really begin to feel the benefits of the practice. And this is where the science maybe comes in a little bit more for me. There's a great study that was done by a psychologist, Amishi Yan. And it was actually with the military. You can see videos of her talking about it online. It's very interesting work. But as you can imagine, the people she was studying were in highly stressful environments. And they did a lot of studies where they did lots of questionnaires, and they went off and practiced mindfulness while they were on duty, while they were just discharged or whatever, or while they were doing their work. And then they followed up and did more observations and tests and found out what was benefiting people. And what she found was that 12 minutes a day was the minimum amount needed to begin to feel the long lasting benefits of the practice, the sustained benefits of the practice. So we could do a bit of meditation and feel good afterwards, and that's a good thing. But if we're not getting up and doing that little piece each day or most days, we won't be able to sustain that benefit. And what that benefit is it's what she describes in her work, at least, is like a cocoon against stress. That the people who were practicing mindfulness each day were more immune in some ways to the stresses of their external environments, and they were able to show that very clearly by doing, experiments and whatever else, tests and whatever else. Where the cortisol, for example, was much less in the people who were practicing each day. So 12 minutes a day, which is not really that long. And what I would encourage you to do is to do that at the start of your day. To get up in the morning and just put on a 12-minute, 10, 15-minute meditation, maybe from an app like the Insight app is very good. I know Sam Harris has one that's quite good. I forget the name of that app, but there's many apps around. There's the Plum Village app, which is the tradition that I work in, and they've got lots of meditations on there. And we're going to finish up with a little meditation from this Buddhist text, actually, but it's practice in Plum Village as well. So look, mindfulness is a playful and open observation of something. Mindfulness is always mindfulness of something, of the body, of the breath, of our feelings, of the mind, all sorts of different things, of the external world. We can be mindful of a sunset, but we're not just mindful in general. It's always mindfulness of something. And it's a mindfulness, we try to observe without judgment. So we try to feel what's happening in the body, and instead of getting caught up in the stories of how sore or annoying or whatever else this or that is, we try to just feel the sensation and just smile and embrace what's there. The training for this happens in a formal meditation practice. But it's a practice that we bring into our daily lives when we're out walking, when we're drinking tea, when we're eating, and when we're angry. My anger, I feel you. So we might feel angry, and what our automatic thing to do is, I'm going to ring this person and tell them how I feel, or you might snap at someone. But instead you might take a moment, take a breath, feel the breath, feel the body, and you go, hello, my anger. Talking just internally to yourself. I feel you. I'm here for you. Let me take care of you. And you might notice then you begin to observe, oh, my chest is so sore from all this anger, for example. Can I relax and soften that feeling? Can I just use my breath to soften and relax that feeling? And so we take time to just sit with ourselves, feel what's going on, observe. We try and hold, a little bit like a small child who's hurt themselves, and they might be crying, and from one perspective you could say that's a bit annoying. You could be annoyed by that. But that's generally not our reaction, isn't it? We get filled with love when we see a child crying. And we say, we want to hold them and embrace them and tell them it's okay, I'm here for you, you're going to be okay. Because we know they're okay, generally speaking at least, and please God. And it's the same with our feelings and with the stuff that's happening in our body, So we're going to finish with a very short practice. We'll just do 5 or 10 minutes of this. And And the way this one works is we're going to try and begin that dialogue. Yeah? So I'm not going to lead this one so much. I'm going to ring some bells and I'm going to give little instructions. So I'm going to say something like, breathing in, I'm aware that I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I'm aware that I'm breathing out. And then I might say, in, out. And that word, in and out, those are two words that you can use to try and hang your attention onto something, right? So as you're breathing in, you can just repeat to yourself, in. And as you're breathing out, you can just say, out. And the instructions will get a little bit more creative. Breathing in, I feel my body. Breathing out, I calm my body. Maybe even breathing in, I feel happy. Breathing out, I smile. And we try and build that feeling in the body. So let's give it a quick go. It'll just be a few minutes. And then after a little bit more, I'll invite you to share. So just getting comfortable. Again, just settling into the feeling of the body against the ground. And I'll just invite the bell. Breathing in, I am aware that I am breathing in. Breathing out, I'm aware that I'm breathing out. In, out. And if you just notice yourself getting distracted, which is completely normal, just gently bringing yourself back to the in and the out breath. Breathing in, my breath grows deeper. Breathing out, my breath grows longer. Deep, slow. Breathing in, I am aware of my whole body. Breathing out, I relax my body. Aware of body, relaxing body. Breathing in, I feel calm. Breathing out, I am at ease. Calm, ease. Breathing in, I feel happy. Breathing out, I am at peace. Happy, peace. So just gently coming back to yourself now. Coming back to the room around you. Noticing what's around you. Smiling to yourself. We just take our time. Often the temptation after doing some mindfulness practice is to rush off the mat. We go to do whatever the next thing we need to do is. We say, okay, I did my mindfulness, then we move on. And so we really try and cultivate that mindfulness outside of the practice. We bring it with us after we've developed a little bit more of it. And we try and carry it throughout the day. And it's a very gentle flame. It's easy for it to get blown out. So we have to take care of it, we mind it. And we don't get too worried about it when we get caught up with the world. And the mind is a great tool. And it's just trying to keep us safe. But unfortunately, it can sometimes create a lot of suffering. So we need ways of working with our mind to help keep us grounded, happy, with living with ease. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the workshop now, and I want to give time for any questions or queries, comments you might have. Before we do that, I'm just going to share one thing with you before I stop this. So I've just been having my website updated, and here it is. And I want to draw you, this is me at Plum Village now. That's Brother Fapu. He's the abbot at Plum Village. And I just want to draw your attention to this here, right? So basically, one of the main, as I said at the start, one of the main practices that I do is called Qigong, and it's a really super way of developing mindfulness of your body. So what I'm always telling people in my classes is that there is a vast microcosm, there's a whole world that's inside of us that we don't really notice. We only notice when things get so bad that they are causing pain and their discomfort and maybe injury of some kind. When we're sick, when we notice our bodies, for example, but we don't notice our bodies otherwise. And there's all this amazing activity that's happening inside of us and information about who we are, about how we feel, that's available inside of us. So developing mindfulness of the body is a pathway to learning more about yourself in that way. And Qigong is for me, one of the best ways of developing that, particularly in the approach that I take to teaching it. And so I did do an online course, and I'm going to be continuing my online courses in January. But in the meantime, if you'd like to practice, if you'd like to catch up, maybe if you haven't been to the classes, or if you'd like to do a little bit, there's basically an 8-week online course that I have here. It's self-paced because it's all pre-recorded. And I'm giving this away at a pay what you can basis, right? So it's, it'll explain it on the website. If you go to the home page and we click on the Qigong and Ease and Learn More, talks more about it here. But basically it's on this principle of dana. Dana is it's an old Buddhist principle or idea called generosity or alms. And so the Buddhists would go around with their alms bowls and they would beg for food because they were, in the original traditions, they were the beggars. They didn't have a home, they lived in forests, they begged for food. And they would teach the Dharma, or the teachings, the practices. They would teach people how to meditate, how to practice mindfulness. And in return, the people would feed them. And that was the principle of dana. So the monks would give what they could, the people would give what they could. And everybody has different means. So some people can afford to give, a cookie. And some people can give lasagna, for example. And that's all different means that people have. And so for me, these practices need to be available to everyone. I think that anyone who wants to do them should be doing them, or should have ways of doing them. And I want to facilitate people to do that. But I do need support to continue this work. It's not cheap to go off to Plum Village and do this intensive retreat for these months. And it might sound all like fun and games, but believe me, it isn't really. Doing this stuff all the time. There are challenges with it, for sure. It's difficult to look after our suffering and to learn about ways of working with the mind in this way. And the insights that I develop from that process is what I share with others in my classes and everything else. So I need financial means to continue doing that work. And if it's something that you get benefit from, then then you might offer what you can for that benefit. But there's no price tag on it. So all you need to do is contact me, which you can do here by pressing this button. Then there's a payment link. If you have Revolut, you can pay me into my Revolut account, or you can buy me a coffee, which is just a separate website here that will come up if you click it. And here you can buy a coffee, 1, 3, 5, a custom amount, whatever you want to do. And once you contact me to let me know you want access, then I'll send you out the link. And you can do them all online. They're uploaded on a private YouTube channel. And you can give a warm-up a try here if you want to give it a go. Just try up the first 20 minutes or so of a class. see if it's something that you want to do a little bit more of. So that's that over. I'll stop sharing now. So what I'm going to do now is just turn off the recording, and I'm just going to ring a bell just to end the workshop.